about the philosophy of dead weight. Look at your neighbor tonight. Yo, you ain't got no neighbor, but just look at your neighbor tonight and say the philosophy of dead weight. We're going into a new year. God wants to do so much with us, but the truth of the matter is that you're carrying a weight. You're carrying a weight, and it's not just a weight. It's a dead weight, meaning that it's not going to change. Once something is dead, that's it. When a plant is dead, you throw it out. When an animal or a creature is dead, you have to bury it. You got to get rid of it. When there is something that is dead, you've got to learn to get rid of it. It's time to move on and to face what you have. Start taking an inventory of your life. This is the perfect time. We're getting ready to go into a brand new year. And God is asking you to start taking inventory and see what's going on. What is dead in your life that you're hanging on to? I told you before in a previous video, we all saw that movie Titanic. We saw after the ship sank, there was debris, and Rose was actually floating on a piece of debris to stay out of the water. She knew that if she got into the water, and Jack knew also, who was hanging on to the water. He knew Rose, they both tried to lay on top of the debris, but it would topple over, and they both fell off. So Jack said, okay, he knew what was going on. He knew that only Rose, it could only fit one person, and anybody that did not get out of the water would die in a few minutes of hypothermia. That's just how it was. Those waters were frigid, and it was important to stay out of the water. So he made a choice for Rose and decided that Rose would be the one that would stay on top of the debris so she could possibly be saved. The first thing you do is when you're in cold like that, you normally go to sleep. We got somebody from South Africa watching. Thank God for you. And once you go to sleep, you end up dying. So Rose had dozed off. I think that's because it's been a minute since I watched the movie. But when she came to herself, when she heard the lifeboats coming back through there, she said, "Wake up, Jack." And Jack was dead. Jack, because he was inside the water, but he was still hanging on to the debris. When Jack was alive, watch this, he was a help to Rose. You remember the movie, he helped her in many areas of her life. He saved her when she was going to jump off the ship. Earlier on, he talked to her about her self-esteem and different things, being in a relationship, and he helped her to see that she was in a relationship, getting ready to get married with somebody for money. That was a tremendous weight because she wasn't marrying for love. And her mother was pressing it because, the father died, and that left them in a financial bind from the way they were used to living. So the mother, to try to get back their pride and the things that the way that they were used to living, was pushing for this marriage. So this marriage, even though it was going to be something for the mother, helped the mother to get back into society. This particular situation was a weight for Rose, and Jack helped her to realize what you're getting ready to get into, even though you're doing it for your mother, is nothing but a weight. Getting back to them being in the water after the ship sank. Jack was a major help to Rose in so many areas. But once he died, I'm getting ready to help somebody. Once he died, he became a weight. Oh, Lord help. And he hung on to the debris, and Rose knew that if I do not get this dead guy, his body, his dead self off of me from hanging on, I'm not going to be able to move to go over to the person, the other dead person that had a whistle, so I could go blow it and let the people in the lifeboats that were passing by know that I'm here and I'm ready to be saved. What am I saying? Let me say something to you. Many of us get caught up in dead weight because at some point they were a help to us. Oh, Lord have mercy. At some point they were operating and working with us, and they seemed to be everything we needed. They helped us in so many ways. But the problem is, somewhere along the line, somewhere along the course of the relationship, or somewhere in it, they died on you. Oh, Lord help. And now they have become a weight. And Rose had to think about that. She had to ponder within herself, how can I let this guy go because he's helped me and been so influential to me? And many of us allow dead weight to hang on because we're thinking of what they did when they were alive in the past. Oh, I wish I had somebody. We feel that we owe them because they helped us. But you got to understand that when they were alive, it might have been all right. But now it's a trick of the enemy to allow that same person who is going to make you lose what you need. They're going to make you die. If you allow them to hang on, things in your life are going to die if you don't let go. You got to let go. You must let go. I don't care what they've done for you in the past. God is a seasonal God. God shifted this earth a few points off its axis in order for us to have seasons, and God works in seasons, and you must move when it's time for you to move. Jack's been good. He's helped you see a lot of things. The Jacks in your relationship have been good. Now, somebody asked me earlier, okay, that's a great topic, Pastor, but are you going to be talking about just relationships? No, let's go a little further. Your job has been a great job. It's helped you pay bills. It's helped you to get to where you're at now. It's helping you to sustain life and to be able to maintain and pay your bills. Your ministry that you're in has been wonderful. It's helped you. You've been a blessing to a lot of people. But now the time has shifted, and now it's become dead weight. Oh, Lord help. And as long as you stay, some people, they don't move when God wants them to move. You've prayed, God, elevate me. God, I'm ready. I need you to. I don't know what it is I want, but I've got to be elevated from this. But we don't leave, and we don't move from the debris, and we don't get rid of the extra things that keep us from moving in order to move into our next season. Again, you've got to learn when the tide is changed, you've got to learn to jump ship. Now, Elaine Deloach said, what about marriage? Now, that's a whole nother piece of thing. Well, I don't mean piece of thing, but that's a whole nother subject in terms of how to explain it. Marriage, God loves marriage. He hates divorce. Many of us can be in marriages that were once alive. That Jack thing was flowing. Woo, you had a great marriage or whatever. But somehow one of the mates had died in the process. All right? So what do you do? What do you do? You've got to read and understand what God says in his word, and you've got to look at all the scriptures pertaining to marriage in their totality, and you've got to be able to understand what God says. He really doesn't want you to get divorced, And we made a vow for better, for worse, for better or for worse. Now, let's look at that. If they committed adultery, if that's something, it's your choice at that point because they've broken the covenant. It's up to you. If you don't feel that you can hang in there anymore, they've broken the covenant. You do what you have to do. If they are unbelieving, if they're not saved and they leave you, the scripture says in that 1 Corinthians 7 that a brother and sister is not under bondage in such cases. God has called us all to peace, for peace and to peace. Okay? Now, you've got to look at that in that way. If your husband loves you, he's not abusive towards you, but he's not saved. If you're saved, it says the unsanctified person is sanctified through the believing person. Minister Jermaine Minor is watching. Awesome praise and worship leader and singer. God bless you, man. Good to have you. So you got to understand what the scriptures say. Hey, man, good to see you, Jermaine. Bless you, man. You got to understand what the scriptures say regarding marriage. And, see your pastor, talk to your pastor. There are a lot of different teachings out there. But you got to do what you need to do to be set free. Now, again, in a marriage, if the person hasn't committed adultery, they love you. They're not whipping on you. They're not beating you up, and they're not, making you feel. God can turn that around, but you're going to have to stay steadfast. You're going to have to watch what you speak from out of your mouth, and you've got to be able to resuscitate. Oh, Lord. You got to be able to resuscitate that thing, okay? So that's how you work it if you're married. Again, and there's so much more to that that I'm not going to go into tonight, but you've got a roadmap there, and you need to pray, and you do what you feel right. Repent, do what God tells you to do, and he will lead you and guide you. The enemy's job is to place weight on you. He wants to leave you stuck. We're going to transition from 2017 into 2018. Some of us, even though the year is going to pass, we're not going to move into the season of 2018. Many of us are going to still be stuck in the season of 2017, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The only thing that'll work is physically, okay? But even physically in some areas, you may not move because you've allowed weight. The enemy loves to place weight. And what he does is, let's go back to the beginning. Let's look at Eve there. Let's look at Eve. I was just talking to a friend today about how the enemy is so subtle and the way he does certain things because he wants to keep you weighted down. He doesn't want you to move. Because if you move, now here's progress. The enemy does not want progress in your life. I'm going to say this before I move on. Jermaine Minor said, be not conformed to this world. All right? And that's a good scripture as well. Eve, in the 3rd chapter there of Genesis, when Satan showed up through the serpent, here he comes. See, the enemy wants to move words around to get you to be tricked up. I was going to use this as a separate subject, but I'm going to mention this tonight. In every contract that you sign, even like your phone, all of us have signed those phone contracts. There is a ton of print that's in the smaller font, and it's called the fine print. In anything that you connect with, it has fine print. The person that you got with to meet, that you got in your life now, there was fine print to them that you did not take time to read. There's fine print in marriage. The person you're going to marry, they come with the fine print. We never really read that. Really, we only a nut sits down, even though we should read it thoroughly. They call those people nuts. When we go to get a car, fine print. That's that real small. For most of the commercials, when they're offering something for $19.99 a month, cable for $19 or for $49 a month, really it's for the first year. And then after that first year, then they hit you with it. They hit you with the real deal. A lot of things in life come with fine print. Many of us don't take the time to read it. Matter of fact, how many of us have signed that phone contract and we didn't read that fine print. How many of us did that? I know I didn't read the fine print. There were relationships that I had that had fine print in them. There are contracts that I've signed that had fine print in them that I did not really take the time to realize that. The situation with Jack and Rose. Jack came with fine print. There's situations that every situation that you have comes with fine print. And 9 times out of 10, the fine print somewhere in there, thank you, Rob Fields, the fine print in almost everything that we attach ourselves with, I guarantee you know why it's fine print? Because that's the real deal. When you get over the hype of having your new phone and signing your new contract, and when you get a new car and you buy something new, you let somebody in their life, when all of the upfront functionality and the excitement of that has worn off, now you're stuck with fine print, watch this, as a weight. Oh, Lord have mercy. The stuff that you didn't pay attention to when you signed up is now a weight. And that's why the enemy loves to push the fine print on us. You signed it. You signed the contract. Now you've got to deal with the weight. Let me give you an example that I never told anybody out on social media before. This church was moving me from New Jersey to Colorado. A ministry, they wanted me to take over. It was a ministry. They were getting ready to build a brand new building, and they were doing a lot of things. And they wanted me to be the minister of music. So they were paying for the relocation from Jersey to Colorado. That's all right, Nashar. You'll catch up. Don't worry about it. I know you say you're late. Don't worry. You'll catch up. So they facilitated this move. We found a moving company that claimed that they gave us an estimate. They came to the house and they said they gave us an estimate of $5,000. The church was going to pay it on that end. So I was like, okay, cool. That sounds like a good price. The church agreed to the price. The movers came over to the house the day of the move. Now, remember, it was a separate day when they came and did the estimate. Now it's time for us to move. A trick of the enemy is, too, they'll come at a different time. They'll sit down and we'll work with you and read, and I want you to apply this to many areas of your life. But then when they show up to move you, you're desperate at that time because now everything's packed. You've quit your job, or I wish I had somebody. You've already prepared all this stuff. I was going to have my Lexus shipped. I had that all planned. One of them trailer trucks was going to come and ship my Lexus, and me and the family were going to fly to Colorado. And once the movers had come and got all the stuff, they quoted me $5,000. Now, someone on this end, the church is in Colorado, I'm there in Jersey. The people are at my house, and they were looking. I'm the only one that could. There was nobody from Colorado there. I had to sign it or nothing, and they had up top, the estimate, and they said $5,000, but there was a lot of blank spaces at the bottom, and there was a lot of fine print. Cassandra said, "Catch you off guard." You're right, and I signed this thing. They got all of my furniture, everything we owned, on the truck, and they finished. They said, "Okay, Mr. Cherry, we need you to we need the payment." And I'm like, the folk in Colorado, like, yeah, you'll get it. They said, no. They said the bill is, watch this. I hope you're sitting down somewhere. They said the bill is $11,000. Oh, y'all don't hear me. I was given the approval for $5,000, but they had everything I owned on the truck, and they said it was going to be $11,000. I said, look, I don't have that kind of money. I said, matter of fact, can y'all just put it out back on the lawn, and I'll figure it out, And they said no. They said we can't do that. we need the payment now, or we're going to take your stuff to a storage place in New York. And I'm like, Lord have mercy. I mean, it threw everything off. We were devastated. I was married before. This is my ex-wife and my daughter's mother. My daughter was she was less than a year old at the time. She's now almost turned, she'll be 18 next month. So that was 18 years ago. So anyway, I begged him. I said, please, I beg you. Everything that we own is on that truck. I don't have $11,000. I'm like, just put it out on the lawn. I promise you, I'll give you a couple thousand just to put it on the lawn. And they said, I'm sorry, Mr. Cherry, we can't do that. Because what they did was, I signed up top under the estimate. Then they went and added stuff they didn't tell me, boxes and different items, underneath. They sort of use the top number, and then they add all of the things. So it looked like I signed off on all of this extra stuff they added on me. You see how that worked? The enemy will do the same way. So it ruined all my plans. I could not ship the Lexus. We got in the car. The church was waiting on me on that end. I'd already quit my job. I had already, it was devastating. So the whole family, her parents decided, they said they would ride up with us just to sort of help us out. And we all jumped in the Lexus, and we had to drive. I didn't plan on doing that. All the way from New Jersey to Colorado. I mean, y'all map that out. That's almost like a 2-day drive. That ain't no joke. And we were moving during the month of October. And October in Jersey is cool. And October in Colorado Springs is wintertime. And you're moving up, thousands of feet above sea level. We got there to the house. And I instantly called the pastor. I called the pastor back in Jersey. But it instantly put weight on that relationship. The pastor was upset with me because I signed it, but I tried to explain to him. And so when we got there to Colorado, we're in an empty house, trying to figure out how we're going to get this stuff. And the pastor came over, and the moving company called. I spoke to them, talked to the owner, and he said, "No, you gotta have this $11,000, or that's it." I'm just trying to, I don't mean to bore y'all with the whole story, but I think y'all with me. Y'all want to hear how this whole thing worked out. We're in Colorado. We're in the house. I'm talking to the moving guy, just begging him. He said, so the church had to come up with more money. I had to come up with more money. My father-in-law, all of us did all we could, and we came up with this $11,000. Okay, sent it. And within a day or two later, two guys came to the house. I paid $11,000. These guys refused to take stuff. You know how they're supposed to take stuff to each room? They said, we're only going to I had a basement and had an upper level. They said, Eloise Johnson's watching. God bless you, Madam President. They said, we're only going to put your stuff on the first floor. We're dropping it off on the first floor, and that's it. We're not taking anything upstairs, and we're not taking anything in the basement. That's your problem. $11,000, y'all. All right, I was fit to be tied. One thing my dad always told me, he's a minister, he's dead and gone now, God bless his rest of his soul. My dad said, when you have your head in a lion's mouth, you're supposed to ease it out. And that's what happened. Thank you, Rob. That's what happened. My head was in a lion's mouth, and I had to ease it out. So he said, okay, I'm talking tonight about the philosophy of dead weight. How the enemy will trick us to doing certain things that will attach dead weight on us. Thank you, Jermaine. Amen. The devil was trying it that day. He sure was. So the movers came in. They refused to put stuff on the floor. I bought a brand new keyboard. It was $1,100 keyboard that I was going to use in the new ministry. I'm waiting. I'm looking. I bought a brand new TV for our bedroom. They're putting this stuff out. Now, mind you, they took $11,000 from me. Keyboard was gone. You hear me? They don't even know where the keyboard went. They stole my keyboard. Brandon said my grandmother said the same thing. They stole my keyboard. I was hot. I mean, that would just, if I spent $11,000, you already gypped me. I'm looking for my stuff. They loaded my stuff. Keyboard was gone. TV, brand new TV for the bedroom, gone. And there were a few other items that were gone. Now watch this. Remember I told you how the weight of a contract can be stuck in the fine print that we don't read? Many of us don't read the fine print. All of us have signed contracts. You signed your phone contract. You signed contracts for your house, contracts for your car. You signed contracts spiritually when you hooked up with somebody in a relationship. There was a lot of fine print to them that you didn't take the time to read. And many of us have connected with people and taken on the fine print. We've even slept with people, shared DNA with people that we did not take time. Thank you, Jermaine. Keep quoting scriptures. We didn't take time to find out what's going on with them. We automatically just signed on because we wanted something that bad. Check this out. My keyboard, that was $1,100. My TV, what the contract said, which I had to read, they bring it. The devil will bring it to your attention after he has you trapped. Oh, you stuck here. Some of you are stuck in relationships. They told you, come on, even a long distance relationship, come on, move out here with me. We're gonna be all right. I'm gonna take care of you. I've done that too. And you move. Darling, wait till I tell you about the insurance. Wait till I tell you about that. Many of us have moved in with people. You quit your job, you gave up. My daughter, Alyssa, is watching. Alyssa, you were 1 year old, babe. Matter of fact, you wasn't even 1 year old. You were almost one when this happened. When we moved from New Jersey to Colorado, me, you, and your mother. You were just a baby. That's the other thing. Alyssa was just a baby at the time when we moved. So I called the insurance company. I asked them about the insurance. They brought out, they actually highlighted it for me and sent it to me through a fax. The insurance replaces items by their weight, not by their cost. Oh, Lord, you missed it. Can I say that again? The insurance company for this this jacked up moving company reimbursed you by the weight of the item, not by its cost. So the $1,100 keyboard might have cost 20 pounds. Might have been 20 pounds. That was only a couple of bucks, a few dollars. That wasn't $1,100. It was only so I was the TV. The TV might have been 30 pounds, baby. I didn't receive anything close to what the item was worth. So we were gypped all the way around. Okay? So the moving people came and they left off everything on the first floor. I was so angry. The guy wanted me to sign watch this, wanted me to sign the bill of lading after it was all over. And I called the pastor over. He was over and a few of the members were over. And I was just fit to be tied. So I said, I'm not signing it. So at first he tried to act like it wasn't a big deal. See, this is how the enemy is. They want to trick you up even over again. He said, and he was like, no problem. And he was like one of these, I forget his nationality, but he could have been Iranian or he was definitely him and the partner. It was these were foreigners, they were foreigners. So anyway, he was like, you don't have to sign it. Don't worry about it. I said, all right, cool. So he wouldn't leave. I'm like, all right, Doc, good night, Deacon, go ahead and leave. And he said, I'm not leaving. I went, why? You must sign it. I'm like, I'm not. You told me I didn't have to sign it. I'm not signing it. You guys stole my stuff. You charged me $11,000 for this move, and you took my keyboard and my TV. You stole items. I'm not signing anything. And so I decided to call the police. So I called the Colorado Springs police. They came over, and the police officer told the guy, he said, you need to leave. And the guy said, I want another policeman. I don't want you. I want another policeman. Now y'all know where it's going. He said, oh, you want another police? The officer had that, the walkie-talkie that he leaned into it, and he talked into it. Next thing I know, they carried that guy out. His legs were dangling. He was talking all that language or whatever. And they put him in the squad car. And eventually, I guess they realized nobody else could drive that. His partner was in the truck asleep, couldn't drive that 18-wheeler. And they decided to let him go. I called the owner about my money, and he cussed me out and hung up the phone. They were in Florida. So that company came out of Florida. But Better Business Bureau And you've got to read these contracts thoroughly and understand that the enemy, there's a reason why stuff is in fine print, because the enemy wants to catch you. Remember that meeting, that famous meeting with Job in Job, the first chapter, where God was having a meeting? It said, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. So check out how bold the enemy is. Y'all need to understand how these weights work. This is how bold the enemy was. God is having a meeting. He's having a conference. And the enemy shows up. Oh, y'all missed it. The enemy showed up at the conference. Oh, Lord. And some of y'all surprised when the enemy shows up at the conference. You know, he showed up at, God was having a meeting. The enemy showed up and God said, where have you been? Oh, Doc, I'm going to and fro. I'm looking for as many people. I'm walking up and down this earth, looking for as many people I can put weights on. I want to put weight. I want to put weight of death. I want to cripple finances. I want to hurt people. I want to make them sick. I want to keep people bound in relationships that they ain't supposed to be in. You know, I'm going to and fro. That's one thing to let you know that the enemy is not omnipresent. God has never said he had to go to and fro. He's just there. But the enemy has to go to and fro. He said, I'm walking up and down the earth. I'm looking for people who I can devour and put weights on them. Let me go back. Some of you have just tuned in. Jack from the movie Titanic was a big help to Rose. But once he died on those frigid waters, he became a weight. And she had to give up her loyalty, and say, you know what? I've got to live. This guy's been great, but he is now dead. Ladies and gentlemen, assess those things that have been good to you, but they have now died. And once something is dead, it is a weight that is placed upon you. Are you going to be loyal to that weight? Some of you got cars. The car's gotten you to A and B. You getting to you where you, but now it has major mechanical problems, and it is now a weight. Oh, Lord, help us today. And now you've got to give up your loyalty and your attachment. And I got a friend who kept his Cougar for years. It was like an 80s Cougar. He bought it brand new. My wife is on. She's watching. She's at work. God bless you, baby. He bought this Cougar. He wanted to eventually restore it. The car stopped running. And he kept it all these years. And he finally realized this car is dead. And it is now a weight. It's sitting in my driveway. I'm getting tickets. You know how the city is. The city is they won't take care of the stuff all that's out in the street. They look and see what's on your lawn. They mind, even though you own your property, they want that stuff. Anything that's not running and not tagged, and don't have insurance, they want you to get rid of it. Once something dies, it becomes a weight. Is the relationship you're in now a weight? Let me just tell you, dead weight is the weight of an inert person or thing. Dead weight is the weight of an inert, E-N-E-R-T, person or thing. Now, inert means lacking the ability, watch this, or the strength to move. Oh, you missed it. There are people in our lives, some friendships, some relationships, some people that are related to us. They have somehow along the way, they have now become inert. They are lacking the ability or strength in their own life to move. And if they don't move, they become a weight. They become unmoving in their spirit. They become motionless, immobile, inanimate. They become still, stationary, static, dormant, sleeping, unconscious, comatose, lacking vigor. Ladies and gentlemen, take the time. We're going to 2018. Are you going to allow this weight? You already know. I don't even have to call your weight out. You already know what your weight is. Are you going to allow this weight? Just like Rose she wasn't going to do that. She wasn't going to allow those lifeboats. She thought about it for a minute. She said, Jack's dead. I love Jack. I'm going to die with Jack. She thought about it for a minute. Think about that. Some of us have given up. I'm going to post a picture after this session. I always battle this weight thing, but I really looked the worst that I'd ever looked in my life at this time. The picture I'm going to send you, just huge. I had totally given up on myself because I allowed the inner weights and the weights placed on me. After a while, they started showing up on the outside, and many of us have given up. And I said, you know what? I'm single. That's why I keep telling y'all, when I talk about single, I'm talking about my single days. I know what I'm talking about. All right. So just the fact that I'm married now doesn't mean that I can't share something of my singlehood that will be of help to you now. Don't just say, oh, the guy's married. He ain't talking about nothing. I'm telling you, the stuff that I'm sharing is a lot of times things that when I was single and struggling, I had given up. I said, you know what? I can't find the right person to be in my life. I'm done. I just given up. I was just in a bad relationship. I said, I'm just giving up. And it started to show on the outside. So many of us have weight and you've given up. Like you were at the point where Rose was. When those lifeboats first came back through in Titanic, she laid there for a minute. And she was thinking, you know what? I got this weight on me. Jack's holding on. I can't, to the debris. I'm not going to be able to move. I'm going to go ahead on. I think, Jack's been wonderful. He died and I'm going to die. What am I saying? You don't have to die with the person who has decided to die in your life. Let me say that again. You don't have to die just because the person that's in your life has decided to die. Remember I did a segment on Destiny come home? Destiny came back home, but we found out that her boyfriend was headbutting her. What kind of man would headbutt a woman? This is a guy that needs to be in jail so he can see what it is to be headbutt. He gave her black eyes. He locked her in the house because he did not want her to go to college. She was accepted in a university, in school, so you go to college, get a college education. She's 19 years old. He did not want her to go to school. There are some people in our lives, and that's why I'm telling you, you must continuously, when you have somebody in your life that you're looking at being in your life, you must measure them with 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter. Love is patient, love is kind, it is not selfish. It does not seek its own. You gotta understand, line that up. This guy had decided in his life that he was dead. And because he was dead, he wanted Destiny to stay on the debris and not be saved. Oh, Lord, have mercy. But the devil's a liar. Her mother and I and other people prayed, and Destiny got out of there, and she's now back at home with her mother. Praise God. And they're going to deal with this rascal who had decided that he was going to try to make her life dead as well. Watch out for people who are dead weight. All right? What else can we talk about dead weight? What else can we talk about? Normally money, if you look through the Bible, through the King James Bible, the word weight, let me just give it to you here. The word weight is mentioned in the King James Bible 59 times. The majority of those scriptures, the majority of them talks about weight in terms of money and weight in terms of value of currency, weight in terms of currency. Of course, the more, just like when you want to, you got those gold chains, all that gold you want to sell. You go to the pawn shop, they put it on the scale, and it goes, and the more it weighs, the more money that you will get. The enemy works the weight the same way because he looks at it as spiritual currency. Oh, Lord have mercy. Not spiritual in the right direction, but spiritual in terms of the darker spirit world. The more weight he can place on you, the more he's actually creating value for his kingdom. Oh, you missed it. The more weight that you allow in your life, the more weighted down and the more valuable, you are to the darker, to the spirit world, and the less valuable you are to God. Oh, Lord have mercy. Did y'all get that? Did y'all get that? That's why the enemy wants to place weights, because he knows if he places weights on you, that eventually you will die. You keep dragging, and allow these weights to stay upon you. David Jones, God bless you, my brother, awesome organist, musician. As long as you allow these weights to stay on you, you will die. You will die, and you will miss opportunities when it's your time to move. Many of us, even eating, if your diet is not on point, I'm talking to myself too, if you don't manage your diet, eventually it's going to back some other things up, even in your body. Many of us have gym memberships, but we don't go. Many of us know what we shouldn't eat, but those are the things, as we know, we're attracted to. With me, there are some things I just can't have in the house. If I have it in the house, I'm going to eat it. I'm just, there's certain things you got to know where you're at. There's just certain things I'm weak in. And many of us know that we're the same way, but we allow those things to still be in our grasp. There's certain people, if you're in a relationship with, you already know. You're single, you're in a relationship with them, you already know if they're coming over on the weekend or during the week, you're going to have sex. You already know that. We watching TV, it's going, we going with it. All of that is dead weight. You already know it. You already know this person that you're with is going to require you to sleep with them. Every time you sleep with them, you're adding more and more dead spiritual weight onto you. And that's why you can't be free. You're not free to read the word. You're not free to move on. Let me just say this as quickly as possible, too. The enemy, I want you to think about yourself. If you go to the ocean, you ever go to the ocean, there's the beach, and then you sort of go out in the shallow waters. First, you get your feet wet and your ankles, and then up to your stomach. You just sort of, you just jumping down in the water, what have you. The enemy loves that when you're in the shallow waters, because and those that are in the shallow waters, they're making a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise there in those shallow waters of the beach. Everybody's playing, blah, blah, blah. But then there's the deeper areas. Those areas are going to, you're going to have to be able to swim. Oh, you're going to have to be able to keep it moving. When you go out in the deeper waters, they're over your head, so you've got to keep treading water in order to stay alive, to keep yourself above water. You're going to have to continuously work. The enemy doesn't want that. He doesn't want you to be in the deeper waters. Many of you should be in the deeper waters. And that's why those of us that are out there in the deeper waters, the enemy's always over in the shallow part trying to call you back. Come on, they make all that noise, and people are talking about you. When people talk about you and they try to ridicule you and talk about you, they're trying to call you back into the shallow waters. If you have weights on you, you are not going to be able to stay on top. I was watching this movie the other day. It was called Gravity, and Sandra Bullock was in it, and who's the male person? I can't think of the male person offhand, famous person, but Gravity was Sandra Bullock, and she was in space, and she finally came to Earth, and the capsule landed in water. The capsule sunk to the bottom of the ocean, and she only had a few minutes to try to get back to the surface to be saved. And she was trying to get up and she couldn't figure out what's going on. But what happened was, once she returned to Earth, she was still in the spacesuit. And the spacesuits are weighted down. Thank you, Sharon. Yes, Baker said great movie. That's an awesome movie. If you can watch that, please watch that. It's called, what I say it was? It's called Gravity with Sandra Bullock. But the weight of the spacesuit kept her, she didn't realize it, from getting up top. And she only had a few seconds to figure it out. And she came out that spacesuit, and immediately she was able to go back to the top. And Sharon said, I saw a good movie. Many of us have that weighted spacesuit on, and it is so many different, I don't have time to unpack it tonight, but there are so many different areas that have made us suit on this extra weight. And we're desperately, because we've moved to the deeper areas of where our ministry should take place. But our ministry is staying alive and staying on the top. You've got to get that weight off of you. Again, those weights are going to hold you down, and the weight will make you drown. If you don't get that weight off you, George Clooney, thank you so much. Sandra Bullock, George Clooney. The CGI is just incredible in that movie. I mean, if you want to see what it's going, because probably none of us are going to ever go out in space. Amen. But if you ever want to sort of see what it looks like, you'll be able to check it out. All right. But again, it's not until we stay on the surface, we get these weights off of us so we can survive and continue to tread water. You stop treading water out in the deep waters, you're finished. And that's why all the weights that are, Nicole Clark is watching. Nicole, I'm sorry I didn't get with you about your daughter's birthday, but we love her. We love Kai, and we're going to make sure that we get with Kai for her birthday. That's what I'm saying in terms of those weights. What other weights? What other weights do you have in your life? Is it student loans? Is it finances? Is it a person that's in your life? Is it your child, your children? Is it what are the weights? As we shift and we move from one season to the other, as we move from one year to the next, we move from 2017 to 2018. I want you to think about what weights you have on you and start working on getting those weights off of you. And if there's a weight of sin, the weight of sin, the Bible says, it besets us. That's the thing that sort of gets us. Sin has a weight to it. So the more you sin, the more weight you're going to have placed on you. You've got to be repentant. Get this weight off of you. If you guys got physical weight, you already know. You've got to start eating better. We all have to start eating better and doing better. We've got to forgive. Many of you are holding on to when you're upset about somebody, family situations, you're holding on to those things. As long as you're holding on to unforgiveness, you missed it. Unforgiveness is a weight. Now, y'all can play with me if y'all want to, because we pick and choose okay, I'll clean this up, but I ain't speaking to them. I ain't talking to them. You've got to learn, and sometimes it's very difficult. It's easier said than done. But to get out into the deeper waters, you have to get those weights off of you and get out into the deeper waters. You're going to have to forgive some people you haven't spoken to in years. Some people have done you. Tyler Perry has shared that story about how he had to forgive his father, who molested him and treated him bad. Those things are weights. You haven't forgiven your children's father. You haven't forgiven your children's mother. You're holding stuff against them. There's people in your family you're not speaking to. They are weights. Sometimes you got to apologize just for peace. All right, you don't want to do it? That's on you. But that's a weight. Sometimes you got to come out of yourself. Love is a commandment. God says he wants us to love. He wants us to forgive. You got to forgive in order to move on. Somehow you got to get to the point where you can forgive. And once you forgive, I promise you, it's a tremendous weight that's lifted. You have to go back, check it out. Those of you that have just signed on, have been signing on, anything that you buy and you sign a contract, it has fine print to it. And many of us don't read the fine print. We want what we want more so than taking the time to read the fine print. Watch commercials. Every time you see a commercial and they throw up this unbelievable price, for cable or for direct TV or for all this other stuff, I get these new telephone contracts, switch over to us. Come on over. We'll take 5 lines for $100. You'll see it and it'll pop up so quick. The enemy, fine print to get you to go with what you did, the deal, but not really understand the weight that's going to be attached to that. That moving company that I signed, for them to take everything I own, I did not take time to watch this whole thing, didn't educate myself, didn't get a reputable mover. I just went with the price. Everything that seems like a real good deal. Can I go to relationships for a second before I sign off? Even medication. Thank you, Tiara Tony. Side effects in medication. Let me just say that. Medicine, often, I don't like taking medicine. I really, because it fixes one thing, but it tears up something else. It might correct this, but damage your liver if you keep it on. Keep on going. You remember I read Otis Williams from the Temptations book about the Temptations. We love that group. That's probably one of the biggest, best groups, black groups that ever was. Love the Temptations. Y'all remember Blue, the bass singer? We know most of us watched it. He had he had those issues with his joints and his legs and stuff, and he kept taking those cortisone shots. Now, cortisone is really one of the things that really helps to relieve those muscles and all that thing from locking up, and cortisone helps get you going. But he needed that cortisone in order to be able to perform because his group needed him. And he felt compelled to keep his body in shape so he can dance. And he kept getting those cortisone shots. Cortisone, after a while, it tears up your heart, and it messes up some other organs of your body if you keep taking it. But he kept taking the cortisone, and even against the doctor's advice. And that was a thing that became a weight and ultimately took him off this earth. So yes, it's even in medicine. So weights are real. What is the weight in your life? What is it that's holding you down? A friend of mine, like I said, just met a new friend, and she told me, I met this guy and I was happy for her. But I believe there was some fine print. And like I said, you've got to take your time with someone new to understand where their fine print is and what it is. Because if you don't, you can sign on to something that, let me just say this as I sign off. You ever you ever go for those timeshare deals? You come out, you could have a nice hotel stay. You could go to these beautiful places, or they give you something, but you've got to attend the timeshare seminar. These guys are some fast talkers. I hope none of you are timeshare salesmen. I don't mean to mess up your living or whatever, but I'm just going to tell the truth. These people that sell timeshares are some fast talkers, and they know how to, your credit could be terrible. They know how to work with you. They know how to get you to sign on that dotted line. You think, oh, I'm gonna go for the benefit that they're offering, but I'm strong enough. I can sit through whatever presentation. I'll just tell them no. They're really good at that. And there's a lot of weight. And let me just say this as I sign off. Anyone who has a lot of weight, yeah, Gloria. Anyone, watch this. I'm signing off. Anyone that has a lot of weight that you meet are going to come off, they're going to rush things. They're rushing things because they know eventually if you hang around them, you will read the fine print and realize it's not a good deal. Many of you have met people in relationships and they talk real quick, they talk fast because they want you to, first of all, they want to sleep with you, to lock that in. Now that hoping that emotionally you will get caught up emotionally. It's quicker. They're trying to fast talk you. They're trying to fast talk you in the bed. They're trying to fast talk you to the bed. They're trying to fast talk you into signing the contract. They're trying to fast talk you into signing your rights away. Anybody that signs a contract for anything, you've got to have somebody that knows the language, knows what they're looking at. That's why you got to seek God in everything you do before you sign. All right, so watch somebody that's always in a rush. Watch somebody who's always grinning and smiling. I can tell on the street when somebody get ready to ask me for something because they're, hey, brother, now you don't know me. Now all of a sudden here come the smile, you great. The folk that know me ain't glad to see me. They ain't never that happy. Ain't never happy to see me. The folk that I preach to ain't never that happy to see me on the street. So when I see somebody, hey, buddy, hey, you got $10. Man, I just need $1 just to get to, I'm going to take the bus over to such and such and such. Watch that. The enemy is out to put weights on you. The weights are going, for many of us, are going to keep you from moving swiftly into your next season. Somebody said, Dawn, I learned the hard way. That's what the enemy wants to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much tonight. Somebody said discernment. Ask God for wisdom and understanding. Can I leave y'all with something controversial? I've said it before if you know my teaching. Darren, God bless you, my friend. Been praying for you. Read what Paul talks about the spirits and what the gifts of the spirits are. Let me just hit you with this. There's a gift of discerning of spirits. Go back and read it. There is a gift for discerning of spirits. Now, the gifts that Paul mentioned, everybody doesn't have them because it would just be a requirement and not a gift. Everybody doesn't get the same gift. All right? There's a gift of tongues. And what the gift is actually the functionality of it, but almost on steroids, okay? There are people who speak in tongues. I speak in tongues. Many of you speak in tongues. But there's people who have the gift of tongues, okay? If you ever witness somebody who has the gift of tongues, when you hear that in operation, the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It is just, it stops everything in the room. When you hear the gift of tongues in operation, okay? There is a gift of discerning of spirits, but not a gift of discernment. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm gonna get you'll be messed up with this. There is no gift of discernment. Let me prove it to you. If you had a gift of overall discernment, the person you pick to marry, that would be the person you'd be with for the rest of your life. If you had to get this gift of discernment, you'd never bring the wrong person in your life. If you had the gift of this so-called discernment, you would never make a mistake. You would never, when it comes to pick something, if you were at let's make a deal. And they said, okay, pick between the box and the curtain. You may not know what it is, but your so-called gift of discernment will let you know there's a what do they call it? A zonk behind that curtain. There's no gift, an overall gift of discernment. But watch this. As you seek God, the scripture said these things come by prayer and fasting. God will give you discernment about certain things at certain times, but no overall discernment of everything. No overall, there's no gift in that. The gift is discerning of spirits. Those who have that gift, you immediately, you know the spirit that's in a person. You're able to call it out. Now, y'all might not believe me, but your pastors, some of your pastors will make you, and they don't mean, it doesn't mean that they're bad. They're good people. But some of your pastors will say, I'm going to prove it to you right here. They have the gift of discernment. They're not saying the gift of discerning of spirits, but they'll say, I got the gift of discernment. God has given me the gift of discernment. But watch that keyboard player that your pastor hired, and he rips and runs through the alto section and get folk pregnant, and or somebody that he appoints to a position, and they make a fool out the pastor, if the pastor has the gift of discernment overall, everybody that he places is going to be on point. Y'all already know. Y'all have already seen the pastors put people in positions, or the pastor said, we're going to build on this land, and then that property goes through. Oh, Lord, falls through. Or he said, we're going to build right here, or we're going to do this, and it doesn't work out. That's proof you don't have an overall gift. There's no such thing. I'm just telling you. Read your Bible. Read your Bible, Bishop. That's what Minister Farrakhan told on his panel. He told one of these preachers, he's like, read your Bible, Bishop. He said, it says they made a covenant with death. It's bad when, Mr. Farrakhan know the Bible more than most Baptists, most preachers. It's bad. We just in a bad state of affairs. All right, let me go back. I'm not rambling. I promise you I'm not rambling. I'm just trying to help you with this, because that can be a weight too. Not knowing. Garrett Siegel, God bless you, man. Whew. Love you, man. Not knowing the word of God and not being able to rightly divide the word of God can be a weight. Many of you are stuck. You're stuck in dead marriages. You're stuck in dead situations. You're stuck at dead churches because you have either been taught or you've misinterpreted the word of God in many areas of your life. You must read in order to be free. You must get spiritual understanding. And many of you, since you're not reading, you're relying on what people are telling you, and that has kept you in the weight. The enemy has said, stay in that marriage. Your husband is sleeping with everybody in town. Oh, stay with that marriage. He beating you till you can't beat no more. Your mate is dead. And you're like Rose from the Titanic hanging on to that debris. You have Jack, who is dead, hanging on to that debris. I don't care what nobody. You must let Jack go. Jack is dead. Jack saved you at one point. He was good. He did his part. Jack is now dead. And he's hanging on to the debris that you need him off of in order for you to get to that whistle, blow that whistle, let those folk know on a lifeboat that, hey, I'm living and I want to be saved. Oh, Lord, I wish I had somebody here. It's time to let Jack go. And you heard when she separated Jack, his hands were frozen into the debris. And I mean, when it was almost like ripping, that thing. She had to rip him off. There are some people we need to rip them off. Get off me. Say it tonight. Tell somebody, get off of me. I've got to be saved. Get off of me. I've got to save myself. Get off of me because I'm going into 2018. Get off of me because I'm going back to school. Get off of me because I'm seeking a new job. Get off of me because my family member's not going to keep me down, lying and talking about me and saying things that's going to hurt me. Get off of me, Jack. Hit the road and don't you come back no more.